Theory. We're live right now with Dart
I
Adams.
finally paid my Wi-Fi bill. Hilarious. I couldn't pay it 5 years ago.
Yo, everybody, who's on here who might not know about Dart, he's a Boston historian, music journalist, author. If you don't have his book, here it is. Please go and get this on Amazon right now.
Should be on book 3 by now, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yo, let's get it cracking, man. First and foremost, thank you for joining me on the Low Theory. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I was thinking back. I don't really know. Maybe you might how we met officially.
Yeah.
Do you?
So yeah, I remember the day I was born. I was named after the doctor who delivered me. Not fun. No, that ass. But what happened was, I was like this Kaiser Sose of Boston hip hop for the longest when I was writing for Poison's Paragraphs, and when I finally showed up, my boy FWMJ brought me to Baltimore to do this panel. And when I went to go to the panel, it was me, FWMJ, Danny Brown. Went to New York, went to Santos Party House, ran to Just Blaze, right? And then we leave there and we go. And when I show up at that panel, everybody's like, "Oh shit, Dart Adams is a real person." So then when I came back to Boston, everybody was like, "Well, since you showed up there, you might as well show up everywhere else." So I started showing up at every event. And at one of those events, I met you.
Which event? Which event was it? Do you remember?
It was likely one of the first ones I went to was this joint. It was, do you remember the clothing line that had the truck and they had like the different places that they went to? You did a party.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
You did a party
I think I performed at that. It was on Newbury Street, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I showed up there, and that's when I met you. And it's also like the first time I met like Blake and like a whole bunch of other people from like the Boston, all at the same time. And then we kept seeing each other because I went to every event, every show with the Middle East and everything. Annie Moles. Yes, Annie Moles.
Annie Moles, exactly.
Yeah, so that's where I met you.
Yo, that's crazy.
I met everybody.
There were so many people there.
Yeah, everybody.
I think I was in a cipher with so many MCs at that pop-up. It was beautiful. That's crazy. And that leads me to my question, because when I first heard about you, right, without personally meeting you, I was already following you on Twitter.
Yeah.
But you were this hidden figure of sorts. You were Luke Cage of Twitter, right? Yeah. You had the Luke Cage icon. Nobody knew what you looked like. They knew you were from Boston. What made you make that transition though? Was it going to the New York show, or like what made you say let me show my face?
Money.
So
money. Ultimately money. So dead ass money.
Okay.
So what really happened was I had this 3 to 5 year plan in place, right? Poison's Paragraph started January 1st, 2007. By January 1st, 2010, I figured I should have done enough work and laid down enough of a groundwork that when I finally show my face in 2010, I'll have all these opportunities waiting for me from all this work that I did from the 3 previous years. I planned out everything ahead of time, right? And people were pretty much DMing me. Back in the days of old Twitter, it had the number of DMs that you had with visible. So after I showed my face, my DMs jumped by 5,000. So I was like, all right, I'm going to capitalize on it. So I was going to meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting with people, going from here to there and all this other stuff, trying to get like, work. But as you know, it was the end of the blog era winding down.
Right.
So they weren't throwing that money at blog influencers like that anymore, And I was always the underground dude. So there was only so much that I was going to get, right?
Right.
So ultimately, I did show my face so I could have opportunities and get paid and probably do on camera stuff. But I wasn't sure. I'm medium ugly, so I wasn't sure I was like good enough to be on camera.
Right.
I ended up on camera anyway by mistake. You know about that. That was fun.
No, facts. And talking about facts, when I think of the term fact check, I feel like you are the human fact check. When it comes to knowing about when albums are released, specifically Like, but how did you become this person where people go to you to say, you know what, we want to know what really happened or when it really happened. Let's reach out to Dark.
Because I embarrassed them and I harassed them about being wrong forever. Seriously. I created my own space because I realized long ago, my boy G Valentino Ball is in this chat, and I used to run around with Greg and Brandon of Show Off Marketing all the time. You're well aware.
Of course.
I used to complain a lot. These dudes, Greg's known me since high school, so he knew me before I was 6 feet tall and still had facial hair. But I used to complain all the time. If you follow me on Twitter back then, I would complain on Twitter too. And I would just talk about how all these things, all these people are doing all this stuff wrong, and how I don't get the opportunity to do X, Y, and Z. Just Blaze DM'd me once. She was like, people are sick of seeing you complain about not being able to get the bag and get the job or whatever it is once you succeed. And he was right. And I thanked him about that not too long ago. But G and Brandon were just like, yo, you talk about all these things that people are doing, but you're not going and getting it. You're not doing the necessary things to go and make it happen. So I would stop being envious of other people in their positions and what they had and just create what I wanted. So one of the things I did to create that space was when people posted up the wrong release date, I would be like, no, this is the right release date. And then I would bring the receipts and walk them through the research and the methods and how I did it. And the fact of the matter is the reason I wanted to know is because I have this memory where I know that's not when that first album dropped. That's not when that Brand New BN album came out. That's not when that first Jungle Brothers album came out. Because my brother bought the Jungle Brothers album around my 13th birthday. And my birthday's in August. So you can't say that album came out then when he had it in the summer. We were wearing shorts when we were playing that record on our record player. Vinyl.
Right.
So that's how, I did hate you and Brandon because y'all just telling me everything I was doing wrong, but you were always right. And so that's how I
shout out Greg.
Space. That's how I got in this space. I started carving out this thing where someone would say, this album was released on this date. Like Redman's album was not released September 22nd because it came out around the time Mortal Kombat dropped. Mortal Kombat was released Friday, November 9th, 1992, right? And I know it was either between then and Halloween and that date. So I know it wasn't released in September. Plus, if you go to the Billboard charts and check, and I walked everybody through this process, it's impossible for it to be released at this time because Def Jam album came out with a hot single and it didn't chart for like 2 months. You know, it doesn't make sense.
Do you feel like you have a photographic memory?
So there are different categories for memory. Photographic memory is like eidetic memory, and I have something similar. But the thing is with film and television, they make it seem like something it isn't. And mine works backwards. So I know around what happened, but I don't know the date, the time, and everything else. I have to fill all that in after the fact. But there's a woman named Mary Lou Henner who was on a show called Taxi. And she has a memory where she knows the name, the date, what she was doing at that time, and everything. Like, I can remember full days of kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. I don't remember what I had for breakfast and stuff like that, but I have to fill in everything after the fact, you know?
Wow.
I have to do, it works backwards for me. It's weird.
That's crazy.
My brother's in the chat, Buck Taylor.
Salute. I hear so much about you, Buck. Yo, side question. Yeah. Creatively, lyrically, is rap right now back to what it was during the golden era of hip hop? Now, in the book, you said there's 2 golden eras.
Yeah, and there was a time period in between.
Right. Right now, is that back to kind of what it was during those golden eras?
I wrote a piece that explained why we'll likely never be in another golden era, but here's the problem, right? The same reason we'll probably never be in a golden era doesn't mean there won't be classic albums, there won't be classic material made, and there won't be material made on the level of the golden eras. And I think a lot of people get wrapped up in wanting there to be another golden era because they feel as though that's the only way they'll get the recognition from their peers and everything else. But there wasn't a golden era before 1986 and 89. There wasn't a golden era between 1992 and 1996. And there were great albums and great material being released after 1996. So I feel as though we no longer have the need for a golden era because we can't put the shit back in the bag. Time can't go backwards, right? The way we consume art, the way we consume stuff, period, doesn't allow for there to be another golden era. Simple thing, right? Jay-Z talked about how he wanted to bring everyone back to a time when we were crowded around the radio and everybody was in unison, focused on one thing. That shit can't ever happen again. Like, a salute Checkmark. Checkmark and I grew up at a time where we all had to be huddled around the radio with the tape in there, pause and record to catch the rap show that came on when the sun went down. Because that's the only time they're playing rap, right?
Right.
The only rap songs that they played where the sun was up were like, you had to be lucky. Like, Lottie Dottie, The Show, All the Way to Heaven, Roxanne. These songs were few and far in between. In like 1979 to 1988, right? They were putting rap at the back of the store in case someone tried to steal it. They had to go all the way back, right? And the world is too different now for us to try to see things in that matter, right? There's always going to be great art. There's always going to be great MCs. There's always going to be great music made. But the thing is, the way we interact with it ain't going to be the same way we did before because the world's so open. People stream music now, right? You can release your album on any day on any platform. You don't have to wait for a Tuesday or a Friday, you know, or build up some thing for it to happen. It can drop at any time. Look at Salt. Salt dropped 2 albums back to back. They were like album of the year. They are on the label? No. Does anybody even know what the people who were in the group look like? No. So the golden era thing is dead, and we're never going to go back, but there's always going to be great music made. There's always going to be great MCs, great lyricists of either gender. There's always going to be great hip-hop made, and hip-hop never die.
No, I agree with you. But at the same time, I kind of disagree with you because obviously we're a little older than the new generation in rap, right?
Just a little.
Just a little. And I feel like the newer generation, when they get a few years of experience in them, they're going to say, well, when I was coming out there, I was part of that gold. They're going to say that they were part of they're going to create their own golden era. You understand what I'm saying to you?
But look at what we tag the blog era.
Okay.
What does the blog era mean? Because when you have the blog era, what happens is, say it with me, nostalgia. Because I like to say every year is somebody's 1988. Right?
Yeah.
My 1988 was 1988. I turned 13 that summer. But somebody turned 21 that summer. Someone turned 18. Someone turned 13. Someone turned 10 in 1988. But 1988 was a huge year, right? But if you weren't around for 1988 to experience it that way, your 1988 might have been 94, might have been 96, might have been 99, might have been 2004.
That's mine. Mine is the early 90s.
Yeah. The same way kids felt, younger guys felt about The Rock and Dipset is the way I used to feel about I don't know, Native Tongues or the Juice Crew or Flavor Unit, or like the crew that Ice Cube had with the Boogeymen and Street Knowledge, like everybody has their time frame and preference for when they grew up and they have that nostalgia for. And I don't mind if you frame it that way because that's what gets you, that's what makes you a fan, right? You're not going to have that passion unless you have that thing that hits you and gives you that authentic feeling or that feeling where you have this emotional connection to the art and the music and the content or whatever have you. I had mine because I'm old, at a certain time because I'm old. You had yours because you're younger. I can't fault you for not being born when I was born. Matter of fact, I'm sad that I wasn't around for but I explained to my niece and nephew that I had a beeper in the age of Wi-Fi. I explained to them what I did with that beeper. And they looked at me like it was the dumbest shit in the world. And you know what? I didn't get mad at them. I laughed with them because they're like, yeah, that was stupid. I'd rather be around the time with Wi-Fi.
Time out. You said because I had a beeper way back. Yeah. You said you had a beeper when there was Wi-Fi still cracking?
No. I'm saying I had a beeper back in the day.
Okay, gotcha.
When you had to pay for airtime.
Oh, yeah. Yo, let's sidetrack.
A Motorola?
For sure. we're diving down a deep hole. Yo, the book. Okay. For those who are not familiar, essentially these are short,
What
not
up,
short,
Feds?
but these are essays that you created and essentially compiled into a book, correct?
They're essays that were compiled into a book, yes.
Okay. First and foremost, congratulations on the success that it had when it came out, right? It was unexpected. Your book climbed to like #1 at one point. Crazy.
It was weird.
Was now looking back, because it released a while ago, but now looking back, is there anything that you would have changed on the book?
Yeah. I would have wanted to see the book before it came out. I would have wanted to remove 1 or 2 pieces that were in the book and put other ones in there. I would have wanted my pieces for Combat Jack to be in there. I would have taken out the Nicki Minaj piece and would have put in the piece about Watch the Throne. I would have done several things differently. But the thing is that my editor put in pieces that made the book really resonate with people, and they were the personal essays. And the essay about my mom, the one about being broke as shit and going to a show in Cambridge, and was Olston Brighton, I think, instead, and being on BU's campus and not having the money to pay for my own ticket at the time, and knowing the people that went on before me and not wanting to ask them to let me in because I should have already had that money already. Certain essays like that are the ones that like really resonated with people, on top of like showing off like what I know and all the other stuff. And also there's some essays that I updated since I wrote them, and the old versions in there when I've written an updated version, right? Like perfect example, there's a piece I talked to you about, 1981, where I say a date in July I haven't figured out yet. After I had figured out the date is July 9th, 1981. And I would have liked to have that in the book, but constraints, time, what have you. And again, I didn't see the book until my boy Sean from what was then For Boston and now the label bought multiple copies of the book before it sold out and was on back order for a month. And I went to the For Boston spot in the North End. I ran there, and he handed me a book. I hadn't seen my book. My book had been out for like a week, and that's the first time I read my book. So
wow.
Certain things like that, I definitely, what up, Kai? I definitely would have changed. Things like that. But when you're with an independent publisher and they're rolling it out really quickly to people, these are things that happen. I've only been working with actual like known publishers and cats with money now, and I fact checked a lot of books for a lot of people. Some of them on the New York Times bestseller list, like Hanif Abdurraqib, Shea Serrano, who we just turned in the final version of HipHop and Other Things. I just saw one of the original, the mock versions before it like really has all the bells and whistles added onto it and is released in October, just this afternoon. So it's been crazy. I was just told I got my first blurb as an author, a review blurb for a book that's coming out in October. I got that this afternoon, and I wrote a foreword for a book, and that's coming out later in 2021. So that's 2 of the 3 things I wanted, to happen in 2021.
Yeah, essentially, and congrats on that. Essentially, what you're saying to me in a recap is that if you ever try to release another book, you're going to try to see it before it drops, and you're going to make sure everything is tip top.
I mean,
you didn't get that chance.
No, it's after the fact. It's like Public Enemy would have redone their original contract with Def Jam if they knew what it was going to be like after they signed it.
Right.
I used to talk to Combat Jack, rest in peace, Reggie Osei. I used to talk to Combat Jack about some of the contracts he saw and how wild they were. And he was like, that Def Jam contract that they gave Public Enemy, because they didn't expect Public Enemy to be what Public Enemy is. Summer 1991, we're going to experience the 30th anniversary of Terminator 2. And Terminator 2 was iconic for so many reasons, that film. And one of the things is that the main character, John Connor, is running around with a Public Enemy t-shirt on.
Oh.
Mind
Listen,
blown.
Somebody go screenshot that right now and post. That's crazy.
The kid who is humanity's savior is running around as a kid with a Public Enemy T-shirt on. Like, not a rock.
That's crazy.
Public Enemy. That's insane.
No, that's crazy.
What up, Khalif? Salute Khalif, man.
Yes,
one
sir.
Of the best,
Khalif.
One of the best the city has to offer. I love going back and forth on Twitter with him, and people think we're beefing. I'm like, are you kidding me?
He has a great new album out. Great new album.
What up, man?
Yo, that leads me to a question. Let me see here. If you met somebody, right, and you had to explain to them what rap music was.
Oh Lord.
Listen, what rap music was in just 2 albums. Which 2 albums would you present to them to show them this is what rap music is?
Oh man. So it's hilarious because I always talk about the issue with rap is that a lot of times we have to define it in narrow terms, and when we're limited to 2 or 3 albums, we're narrowcasting the entire genre and its possibilities. But just for the sake of this and me not being a jerk, I would say I would use Public Enemy and Takes a Nation Millions to hold this back, and the other one would more than likely be like, just for the sake of, you know, the now, Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. And I would bookend those, but I would hate that it's only 2 because I feel like I need at least maybe 10 to 15 on the low end to really explain the full gamut that this genre and this music and this art form has to offer the world to understand.
It's a hard question. No, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good, those 2 albums, in my opinion, would be a great foundation if I'd never heard it. Was that?
I said salute E-Double.
Yes, sir. E-Double. Yeah, it would. Those 2 albums are great though. Like if I never heard of rap in my life and you showed me those 2 albums, I'll be like, okay, I'm getting a good understanding, and then you can hit me with the rest of them for sure. Now, last question, because we try to keep it short, sweet, and concise on the Low Theory. You also had a podcast like myself. What happened with it? Why did you end it? I think you were on like episode 100, right?
Yeah, it was time. Like I said, I planned everything ahead of time, right? The podcast that y'all heard, Dart Against Humanity, was supposed to be called something else. It's supposed to be called Flash Drives and Aux Cores. The whole idea of the thing was supposed to be about music discovery and how it's changed through time, and how my era of music discovery is completely different from the people now, and how one doesn't discount the other, and one doesn't mean one is better than the other, and how like there are kids that grew up hunting for stuff on the internet, whether it be beats, whether it be sample sources, whether it be music through MP3s, whether I had to dig through you know, more tangible forms. But I was young enough where I had to do the same thing. My brother and I used to use, you know, Kazaa and LimeWire and all these other things to find stuff. And my brother and I came up with like this brilliant thing. We were looking for the song 1999 by Common and Sadat X, and we realized that people don't know song titles. So in the song it says still getting mine in the one. Type in still common sense and see what happens. You type in still common sense, 50 of them came up. So to give you an idea how long I've been doing this, right? When you have a memory like mine, you have to remember that you can always learn new things, and don't be stuck to the old way, because a new thing's going to come around that's going to make life a lot easier. I knew a lot of DJs that were really, 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 really down on Serato, and were like, I'm going to carry these crates forever. They don't still carry those crates forever, and they have since, you know, embraced Serato. But it's just the way you freak whatever technology you have, whatever
That's
new
facts,
man. So in my old young age, I've learned so many lessons, and I try not to be the bitter old man. And I've seen the bitter old man, and they age faster. And it looks like I sleep in saran wrap in the freezer because I'm 45.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know,
I think that you're hip though. You know, obviously you're in tune with Khalif. You're probably in tune with all the rest of the new Boston.
Again, when I came out and ran out, the 12 for 12 ever was coming up, and I saw these cats everywhere. And Ab was right in the backyard. You know, Prano was right around. And they all played basketball. And
Yep.
for those of y'all that know me, I was Kaiser Sose, but you would find me on a basketball court at any time. I'd be on 3 or 4 basketball courts between 1991 and probably 98 when I finally hung it up because my knees and ankles were just like, stop.
Where'd you go to high school?
Huh? I went to Boston Latin School, was expurgated in 1991, and then I went to English High until 1995.
You played ball for them?
No, I could never have the grades. So I never played high school ball. By the time I got to English, I was already 17, and I didn't know what grade I was in. So by the time I found out what grade I was in, I entered the 11th grade at 18. I couldn't play basketball. I was ineligible to play high school basketball. I only played on the street. And when I went to Morgan State to walk on, that's the epic story, in 1996, I went to the 323rd ranked out of 361 Division I schools in Baltimore. And I could tell you a story about how a kid named Wink, who turned out to be Steve Francis in high school, used to jump over and dunk on my friends when they used to go try to do runs out in Baltimore. But we're not going to get into that.
We might have to do a part 2, Dart. We might have to do a part 2. Listen, man, I think that's all we actually let me squeeze in one last thing because I think we have like 2 more minutes. Because DMX, rest in peace, he recently passed.
Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie.
Anne-Marie.
Go ahead.
And his new album is releasing tomorrow at midnight, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts around that album? Do you feel like it's gonna give you that feel from like when DMX first came out in like '98 or whenever? Like, are you excited about this last album?
So I was sent the link to listen to the album before it came out. I didn't click it. I don't think that anything that's coming out after the fact is going to give anybody the same feeling they came when DMX first came out, especially me being an old who remembers DMX the Great from 1991, who was grinding before he got his final deal on Def Jam. I remember when he was signed to Rough House Columbia, Born Loser, Catching the Same Hell. That DMX, the DMX that was going to Case Solo all the time, the DMX that was running around with DJ Irv before he was Irv Gotti. I'm never going to get that feeling back. Even when he finally broke through with Stop Being Greedy and Get At Me Dog and Shut Him Down, and he went on the Survival the Illest tour, and he wasn't the headliner, but he was the headliner. He closed it. Before It's Dark and Hell came out.
Time out. That's so eerie. A notification just popped up saying Swiss Beats is live right now. It's going to talk about the DMX album. Wow, it's crazy.
Great.
Continue, please.
Because, again, wasn't a big fan of Swizz. To me, it sounded like all Swizz beats sound like he took a bunch of kids' toys and pushed them down a flight of stairs that winded. And then he recorded it as it went down, and he was like, all right, wrap to that. So, but
with time, he progressed.
People tell me that, but, it is what it is.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. You're saying basically it's never going to give you that feel again. But are you excited to hear one last album, though?
I'm going to hear the album. I don't know if I'm excited. I'm glad that fans will get closure. Not necessarily me. I'm glad that fans will get closure and finally get to hear more music from him so they remember him in a different way from how his history going back and forth with Def Jam lately has been crazy. So I'm glad they get new music. But
For sure. Yo, that's about it. I saw you talking about Anne-Marie. You talking about Anne-Marie, the R&B singer?
Absolutely. It's Anne-Marie.
I'm trying to get her on the show, bro.
Anybody on the show.
Anybody who knows Anne-Marie, tell her to holla at me, yo. Let's get her on the low theory, man.
L. Varner's second.
Who?
L. Varner's second.
L. Varner.
G can tell you about how we were going to do the L. Varner show. And
I used to love L. Varner, man.
We were going to bring her to Boston and Providence. It was about to happen. It didn't.
Her album was fire when it came out. I don't know what year that was, but I love that shit.
Her album was fire. Yeah, I loved her album. Her album was album. Love her music. Her music
Yo, Dart.
Fantastic.
Let's link up with a part 2. Hopefully you can jump on my live without complications.
I love for that to happen.
Right. Thank you so much, bro, for joining. Make sure that you personally save this so we can export and get things cracking. Bro, continue killing it, man. You're so active on Twitter. You are the human fact check. So continue knocking dudes off the heads and correcting them, man.
Hey, it's how I make my money.
My bro,
Seriously.
good seeing you, my brother.
All right, thank you, man. I appreciate this.
Peace.
All right, one.